Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. And we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. Well, it's been a very busy day once again. More information has come out regarding the domestic terrorist attack on the U.S. Capitol that was instigated and inspired by one Donald John Trump. We see that the second impeachment of Trump nears, and more Republicans are coming out saying that they're going to vote to impeach the traitor in chief, Donald Trump, who will go down in history as the first president to be impeached twice. Whether or not he's removed from office remains to be seen. But in one sign that definitely is not good for Donald Trump is that it appears he's lost the support of the Grim Reaper, Moscow Mitch McConnell. And when you lose the support of Moscow Mitch McConnell, that's not a good sign at all. New York Times has a story that deals with this, and it appears that Mitch McConnell is upset with Donald Trump and blames Donald Trump for Republicans losing control of the U.S. Senate. And then I think the last straw was the insurrection, the domestic terrorist attack that Donald Trump instigated and inspired and put the lives of people like Mitch McConnell and other Republicans who have carried the water of the traitor in chief. He put their lives in jeopardy. Not only that, he put the life of Mike Pence, who has probably been the most loyal to Donald Trump. He put the life of Mike Pence in jeopardy as well, because many of those domestic terrorists, the insurrectionists, were yelling, "Hang Mike Pence," and calling for Mike Pence. So all this is taking place. And then Mike Pence, VP Mike Pence, Washington Post has reported, and other news outlets, NBC News, have reported that he is rejecting the call to implement the 25th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Mike Pence rejects calls for him to remove Trump from office under the 25th Amendment. So we'll talk to him about that. We'll deal with the impeachment nearing, because it looks like that on Wednesday in the House of Representatives, they're going to take a vote to impeach Donald Trump. Either between Wednesday and Thursday, they'll take a vote to impeach Trump. And then also you have, so we have more Republicans in the House and the Senate who are saying that they're going to vote to impeach Trump. But then we saw the Department of Justice held a press conference today. And there was a story from the Washington Post that came out. FBI report warned of war at Capitol, contradicting claims there was no indication of looming violence. FBI report warned of war at Capitol, contradicting claims that there was no indication of looming violence. So we see that there was a press conference today from the Department of Justice, and we're going to share an excerpt of that press conference. Now, this is the first time that a press conference has been held since the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. The FBI announced that there are 160 case files opened into the Capitol riot probe. So they gave an update on what they know so far that they want to tell us. So we have that taking place. We're gonna talk about that. And then also Associated Press and WXYZ Channel 7 in Detroit announced today, happy news, former governor Rick Snyder, former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder, the Michigan Attorney General's office has announced they're going to file charges against former Governor Rick Snyder in the Flint Water Crisis investigation. The Flint Water Crisis investigation. Now, this made international news. There was support from around the world when people learned about the lead poisoning of the water in Flint, Michigan. And that happened under the watch of Rick Snyder, Governor Rick Snyder. Former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder, his health director, and other ex-officials have been told they're being charged after a new investigation of the Flint water scandal, which devastated the majority African-American city of Flint, Michigan, with lead-contaminated water, and was blamed for a deadly outbreak of Legionnaire's disease, the Associated Press has learned. Two people with knowledge of the planned prosecution told the Associated Press on Tuesday that the Attorney General's office has informed defense lawyers about indictments in Flint, Michigan, and told them to expect initial court appearances soon. Told them to expect initial court appearances soon. They spoke to the Associated Press on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. Now, so far, we haven't been able to determine the nature of the charges against former Governor Rick Snyder, former Health Director Nick Lyon, and others who were in his administration, including Rich Baird, B-A-I-R-D, a friend who was the governor's key troubleshooter while in office. So you're going to hear more about that. So that was good news. Then also Sheldon Adelson died today. And Sheldon Adelson is an ally of Trump. He's a big financier of Trump's 2016 campaign. You know, hotel magnate, owned some newspapers, one or two newspapers. So I'll leave it up to you which category you file that under. I'm going to tell you which category I file that under, but we ain't going to go there. Sheldon Adelson, billionaire donor to GOP in Israel, died, 87 years old. I'm looking at this reporting from the New York Times. And then, let me see, hold on. Okay. So New York Times has a big article about this. I got email notifications this morning about Sheldon Adelson passing away from different news sources. And I didn't post about it. I said, Sheldon Adelson, let's see. He drew a cornucopia of cash from his empire of casinos and resort hotels and poured money into right-wing causes. Sheldon Adelson, a cab driver's son who built the world's largest empire of casinos and resort hotels in Las Vegas, Singapore, and other gambling meccas, and used his vast wealth to promote right-wing political agendas, including financing Donald Trump's 2016 campaign. Passed away on Monday at his home in Malibu, California. He was 87 years old. The cause was complications of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a form of blood cancer, his company, Las Vegas Sands, said on Tuesday in a statement. Sheldon Adelson grew up tough, a Depression-era street urchin who hawked newspapers and fought roughnecks in Boston, unfazed by risks, rivals, or the law. He built a fortune estimated by Forbes in 2014 at $36.6 billion. He was a real billionaire, unlike Donald Trump. And by Bloomberg Billionaires Index at $40.8 billion, making him the world's 8th or 9th wealthiest person. And he was a staunch Trump supporter also. By 2016, Forbes said Sheldon Adelson's net worth had dropped to $25.5 billion, largely because of gaming revenue declines at his giant casino in Macau or on China's south coast, where the swarms of junketing Chinese businessmen and Communist Party officials had all but dried up in a corruption crackdown by President Xi Jinping of China. So, I felt sorry for him because he lost billions of dollars. But you've heard me talk about Sheldon Adelson before, so So file that under which category you want to. I could tell you which category I'm going to file that under. But anyway, so read this article from New York Times, and then NBC News has an article by the Washington Post, all of them. And do some research on Sheldon Adelson and his financing of right-wing agendas. So then I posted this story about, we're coming up here on a break in just a second. I posted this story here. This was one from Forbes.com. Speaking of Forbes, Georgia man charged in U.S. Capitol attack dies by suicide. Georgia man charged in U.S. Capitol attack dies by suicide. Now, we know all life is precious, which is why you should not storm the U.S. Capitol and try to overthrow the government and threaten the lives of elected officials and Vice President Mike Pence, things like that. And he was 53 years old. His name was Christopher Stanton of Georgia. I don't know if he had little children or anything like that. So, if he had children or something, that's tragic. Anybody commits suicide and they have little children or something, I feel sorry for the children. That's tragic. But also, in the caption I posted, it said, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. A 53-year-old Georgia man who faced charges in connection to late Wednesday's attack on the U.S. Capitol has died by suicide, according to the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office. Christopher Stanton of Georgia, 53 years old, died from a gunshot wound to the chest on Saturday. The Medical Examiner's Office told NBC affiliate 11 Alive and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Now, that's tragic. So was the death of Brian Sicknick, U.S. Capitol Police officer who was bludgeoned to death by one of these domestic terrorists. Police records obtained by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution show that Stanton was found in the basement of his home. Officers removed 2 rifles from his home and initially labeled the death as, quote unquote, under investigation. Now, Georgia was arrested. Christopher Stanton, his name is Christopher Stanton, Georgia. Christopher Stanton, Georgia, was arrested on Wednesday evening for attempting unlawful entry onto the grounds of the U.S. Capitol and for violating Washington, D.C. 6 p.m. curfew. Okay, now, unlawful entry to the U.S. Capitol is federal offense, but I mean, that means a lot of these people that stormed the U.S. Capitol, a lot of them don't understand the legal trouble that they're in. There may have been some who just got caught up in that mob frenzy and did not understand the legal consequences. But hey, hashtag don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Are you getting ready for fall or winter? We have the solution for all seasonal clothing needs. Comedicwear.com is the go-to online source for Comedic African fashion and lifestyle products with a contemporary twist. We're committed to offering unique styles reflecting our African heritage. Comedicwear.com is inspired by ComedicScribes.com to influence our people in learning and showing pride. Please visit our website at Comedicwear.com.
With blackbusinesstee.com, the messages are clear and meaningful. Keep your business in the black and out of the red. Mind your black business, know your numbers, and plan strategically. Black Business Boss, lead your industry. Support black business, encourage, patronize, and uplift one another. Blackbusinesstee.com currently has products sold in Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, and Los Angeles, with proceeds returned to the black community. They have a wide selection of hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, hats, sweatshirts that support black-owned businesses. Visit the website blackbusinesstee.com. That's blackbusinesstee.com.
Black Bees products are a collection of natural, organic, personal care products with an appreciation of nature and bees. Our philosophy is without bees, we have nothing. We are honoring our Nile Valley ancestors who understood the importance of bees. Black Bees created a high-quality, natural, organic personal care line that would be affordable to everyone. We hope you try and enjoy our Black Bees products line and come back and visit us at blackbeesproducts.com.
For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid El Hakim is the founder of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, and he is a highly sought-after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, hip-hop, and race relations. Dr. Khalid was named among the change makers for NBC Universal's Erase the Hate campaign and listed as one of the 100 men of distinction for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Hip Hop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. For more information, please contact Dr. Khalid Al Hakim directly at 313-645-4197, 313-645-4197, or visit their website at blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. That's blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. You can also email him at bhistory101@yahoo.com, bhistory101@yahoo.com. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. We are live. Calling number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now, it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when we control the radius of a man's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment. entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. Also, visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. If you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $TheAHNShow through Cash App, $TheAHNShow through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/TheAHNShow, paypal.me/TheAHNShow, and also at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Now, we're here 6 nights a week, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time, and we're still on Sunday nights, which I've been in that Sunday time slot for 5 years. We're still on Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So as of October 12th, we're on 6 nights a week. So when you donate, that helps us to keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, etc. Okay, so we definitely appreciate that. All right, let's jump into this quickly here. So let's see. I want to go to let's go to the FBI story. Shakita, we're going to go to clip 2 first. So on yesterday's show, we talked about there was a news story. FBI memo warns of threats of possible armed protests at 50 state capitals. And NBC News had exclusive reporting on that. FBI memo warns law enforcement across U.S. of possible armed protests at 50 state capitals, including in Lansing, Michigan, state capital here in Michigan. The FBI also says an armed group has threatened to travel to Washington, D.C. and stage an uprising if Congress removes Donald Trump from office. Let's go to this clip here. This is from Meet the Press Daily, MSNBC, from January 11th, 2021. Let's go to this clip, Shakita.
Learning more about what we know here from the FBI. Tell us what you've learned.
That's right, Casey. So we've come to get an understanding that the FBI's National Crisis Coordination Center sent out a memo, and basically it summarizes a number of memos and briefing products from the ATF, DEA, DOD, Park Police, U.S. Marshals, several other agencies, kind of putting together here's what we know about the world of online threats, open source information, social media information, information from other sources that says, what are people talking about potentially doing in the next couple of weeks? And so there's 2 things that have been kind of talked about. One is the idea of protesting at all 50 state capitals, in particularly those that certified the election for President-elect Joe Biden, and to somehow demonstrate there or have armed protests there. The second one is an idea of if Congress, this is what these people are talking about, if Congress invokes the 25th Amendment starting January 16th, that there'll be some sort of a violent uprising in Washington, D.C. Now, Casey, most people are smart enough to know that Congress can't invoke the 25th Amendment, so that raises questions about what the group is thinking about. But this type of information is kind of a survey of what's out there as far as what people are talking about. It's being shared among law enforcement so that everybody kind of has an understanding as far as what's the discussion, what's going on, what do we need to be thinking about, what do we need to be investigating. And on that front, we're already hearing from some of the FBI field offices across the country, for instance, the FBI in Boston, saying they don't have any information specific and incredible to their capitals on Inauguration Day. So there we're talking about Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Maine. So they're on the record saying, look, we don't have anything specific to our capitals. So it's important to note, just a quick indulgence on how law enforcement intelligence works. There's the side of it that gathers information and says, okay, this is what people are talking about. This is what they're discussing about online. Some of that information is the same type of information that if you and I were highly trained and spent all day focusing on this, we could easily derive ourselves. Sometimes law enforcement puts out a bulletin type information, which is derived from the investigations that they're doing and is derived from law enforcement information. We don't appear to have that today. So basically, we have a summary of what's going on in the world, and then we also have the idea that specific investigations or at least information is being derived as far as what to expect in certain state capitals. So that's kind of the overall sense of things.
Okay, so that was from Monday, January 11th, 2021. Meet the Press Daily, MSNBC. FBI memo warns of threats of possible armed protests at 50 state capitals. That's the name of that clip. You heard NBC's Tom Winters discuss an FBI memo warning law enforcement across the U.S. of possible armed protests at 50 state capitals. And then NBC News also had the article from January 11th. FBI memo warns law enforcement across the U.S. of possible armed protests at 50 state capitals. We talked about that yesterday. Okay. So today, the FBI Washington field office gave a press conference, and they talked about the insurrection, the domestic terrorist attack on the U.S. Capitol office. I'm going to go to clip 3 in just a second, Shakita. There's also an article from NBC News dealing with this in part, due to free speech worries. FBI never issued intel bulletin about possible Capitol violence. This is the name of the article from NBC News. Other outlets are reporting on this also. There's a big article from the Washington Post that we posted earlier today. FBI report warned of war at Capitol. FBI report warned of war at Capitol, contradicting claims there was no indication of looming violence. A situational information report approved for release the day before the U.S. Capitol riot. So that would be Tuesday, January 5th. The day before the U.S. Capitol riot painted a dire portrait of dangerous plans, including individuals sharing a map of the complex's tunnels and possibly rally points for would-be conspirators to meet up in Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and South Carolina and head in groups to Washington, D.C. Okay, let me repeat this. A situational information report approved for release the day before the U.S. Capitol riot painted a dire portrait of dangerous plans, including individuals sharing a map of the complex's tunnels and possible rally points for would-be conspirators to meet up in Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and South Carolina and head in groups to Washington. Quote, as of January 5th, 2021, FBI Norfolk, Virginia, received information indicating calls for violence in response to unlawful lockdowns, quote unquote, unlawful lockdowns, to begin on January 6, 2021 in Washington, D.C., the document says. It goes on to say, quote, an online thread discussed specific calls for violence to include stating, quote, be ready to fight. Congress needs to hear glass breaking, doors being kicked in, and blood from their BLM, Black Lives Matter, BLM, and Pantifa slave soldiers being spilled. Get violent. Stop calling this a march or rally or a protest. Go there ready for war. We get our president or we die. Nothing else will achieve this goal, end quote. This is directly from the reporting from the Washington Post. BLM is likely a reference to the Black Lives Matter movement for racial justice. Pantifa is a derogatory term for Antifa, a far-left anti-fascist movement whose adherents sometimes engage in violent clashes with right-wing extremists. But Antifa is against Donald Trump. Antifa is against Donald Trump. Now, Antifa is a movement, not an organization. Yet, even with that information in hand, the report's unidentified author expressed concern that the FBI might be encroaching on free speech rights. The warning is the starkest evidence yet of the sizable intelligence failure that preceded the mayhem, which claimed the lives of 5 people, although one law enforcement official speaking on the condition of anonymity to avoid disciplinary action said the failure was not one of intelligence, but of acting on the intelligence. So this is something that I'm hearing more and more. It was not a failure of intelligence. It was not a lack of intelligence. It was a failure to act upon the intelligence, because the intelligence was there. So I want to go to this excerpt from the press conference that took place today. FBI Washington Field Office, ADIC Stephen D'Antonio said the brutality at the U.S. Capitol will, quote, not be tolerated by the FBI. D'Antonio said they are working to arrest and charge people who took part in the destruction, and they have opened over 160 case files in the riot probe. Let's go to clip number 3. Do we have clip 3 from
brutality the American people watched with shock and disbelief on the 6th would not be tolerated by the FBI. The men and women of the FBI will leave no stone unturned in this investigation. Since these events, the FBI has worked hand in hand with the United States Attorney's Office and our law enforcement partners here in D.C. and across the country to arrest and charge multiple individuals who took part in the destruction. In 6 days, we have opened over 160 case files, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. The significance of this investigation is not lost on us. This is a 24/7, full-bore, extensive operation into what happened that day. We cannot do our job without the help of the American people. Since our call for tips, videos, and pictures, we have received more than 100,000 pieces of digital media, which is absolutely fantastic. And we are scouring every one for investigative and intelligence leads. We continue to ask for more. If you have information, contact 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit photos and videos to fbi.gov/US Capitol, that's capital with an O. I want to stress that the FBI has a long memory and a broad reach. Agents and our partners are on the streets investigating leads not only here in the D.C. area, but also across the country through the FBI's 56 field offices. So even, like I've said before, even if you've left D.C., agents from our local field offices will be knocking on your door if we find out that you were part of the criminal activity at the Capitol. But before we do this is your opportunity to come forward, as several individuals who were involved in Wednesday's riots have done, to volunteer about their participation. In the weeks leading up to the January 6th rally, the FBI worked internally with every FBI field office to ensure that we were looking for any intelligence that may have developed about potential violence during the rally on January 6th. We developed some intelligence that a number of individuals were planning to travel to the D.C. area with intentions to cause violence. We immediately shared that information, and action was taken, as demonstrated by the arrest of Enrique Tarrio by the Metropolitan Police Department the night before the rally. Other individuals were identified in other parts of the country, and the travel subsequently disrupted. The FBI receives enormous amounts of information and intelligence, and our job is to determine the credibility and viability of it under the laws and policies that govern FBI investigations. We have to separate the aspirational from the intentional and determine which of the individuals saying despicable things on the internet are just practicing keyboard bravado, or they actually have the intent to do harm. In the latter, we work diligently to identify them and prevent them from doing so. They may also see it as a chance.
Was that I think that clip is like 8 minutes long. Was that the rest of the clip? I mean, wasn't the rest of the clip playing? All right. The clip was three minutes, not 8. Okay. 3 minutes. Okay, so that's an excerpt of the press conference that took place today. All right. Check out the article from NBC News. In part due to free speech worries, FBI issued intel bulletin about possible Capitol violence. The lack of an intel bulletin left agencies like the Capitol Police without the full picture of what the FBI had learned about what extremists were saying. The lack of an intel bulletin left agencies like the Capitol Police without the full picture of what the FBI had learned about what extremists were saying. Okay, so we'll probably talk some more about that tomorrow. So check out that article. We just posted the link here. We'll go to the phone lines in just a second here. Then also dealing with the 25th Amendment. So Mike Pence has said he's not going to invoke the 25th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to try to remove Donald Trump from office, even though Trump put Mike Pence's life in jeopardy when Mike Pence followed the U.S. Constitution and not the traitor-in-chief to try to throw out electoral college votes from states that have already been certified. The Democratic-led House of Representatives voted late Tuesday to officially call on Vice President Mike Pence to remove Donald Trump by invoking the 25th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, rebuffing the vice president's objections. In a letter to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Vice President Mike Pence had urged Congress, quote, to avoid actions that would further divide and inflame the passions of the moment, end quote. The House proceeded with the vote and is on course to consider impeaching Trump on Wednesday on one charge of incitement of insurrection, days after a pro-Trump mob attacked the U.S. Capitol. 4 Republicans have said they would vote to impeach Trump, including Representative Liz Cheney, of Wyoming, number 3 Republican in the House. She's the number 3 Republican in the House of Representatives, who said there has, quote, never been a greater betrayal, end quote, by a president to his office and his oath to the Constitution. Why do you think I call him the traitor-in-chief? Because that's what he is. Now, Donald Trump called the effort by House Democrats to impeach him for a second time a, quote, witch hunt, end quote. They're about to find some witches. He called it a witch hunt. They're about to find some more witches. And offered no regrets for inciting the mob attack on the U.S. Capitol last week as he emerged from seclusion Tuesday to travel to Alamo, Texas, to tour a section of the border wall. So we see the House voted officially to call on Mike Pence to remove Trump from invoking the 25th Amendment. Pence said he's not going to do that. The vote was 223 to 205. Representative Adam Kinzinger, Republican from Illinois, joined Democrats in voting for the resolution. Okay, and then we see more Republicans are saying they will vote to impeach Donald Trump also. So the vote on impeachment is supposed to take place on Wednesday in the U.S. House of Representatives. Okay, let's go quickly to the phone lines. Let's go to, I think, line 1. I think we have Larry. Who do we have? Who's the line 1? Is it Ken? Whoever's on line 1. Let's go to the phone lines. I think it's Ken first. Who do we have?
Yeah, okay. How you doing, brother?
All right, how you doing? Who's this?
This is Ken.
Okay, Ken. Okay, Ken from LA?
This is Ken calling from LA.
Okay, from Los Angeles. How you doing, Ken? Thanks for holding. Welcome to the African History Network show.
Your opinion on something, Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, so I looked at everything that's happened over the last couple of days and last week, and what I see is, the folks that are coming out in Washington are kind of hiding behind this whole Trump thing and making it look like this is about an election. But I think the real problem is that they see their power dwindling and diminishing in America. And so I'm wondering, how bad this is going to actually get as we start to move closer to, 2042.
Yeah, 2043, 2043, yeah.
They project that they will, white people won't. Yeah.
Well, white people won't be the majority population in the country. Right. So you have a number of different things contributing to this.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if this is handwriting.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if we're looking at the handwriting on the wall for, even worse incidences. To show up. They lost an election. Given the fact that the Democrats are going to control the House and the Senate, you got that Voting Rights Protection Act that's going to pass. That may result in a Democratic candidate. A Republican candidate not sitting in the White House for quite a while.
Right. Well, see. So here's the thing.
If you were a radical thinking, go ahead. Yeah.
So it's a number of different things. One, the Republican Party could very well fracture because it's imploding, and Republicans are forced to take a stand. Are you going to stand for the U.S. Constitution, or are you going to stand for a man who's a traitor to the country and try to overthrow the government? Tried to have who instigated an insurrection to interrupt a constitutionally mandated process, which was a joint session of the legislative branch of government to certify the electoral college votes. That is mandated by the U.S. Constitution. He instigated a mob, and it was 8,000 insurrectionists who showed up to disrupt and keep a constitutionally mandated process from taking place so he could stay in power and overrule the will of the people. So are you going to stand with the U.S. Constitution that you took an oath to defend, or are you going to stand with the traitor in chief who is against the U.S. Constitution? So you're probably going to see a fracture in the Republican Party. But you have a number of different things. You have some white people fearing the browning of America in 2043, but also there's a lot of resentment that some white people have who are rebelling and who are part of that insurrection. There's a resentment that some of them have against African American voters, because African American voters turned out to defeat Trump and then turned out again in Georgia to defeat the Republicans in the U.S. Senate races. Okay, so and see Mitch McConnell. When you read this reporting from the New York Times, this article from the New York Times dealing with McConnell is said to be pleased about impeachment, believing it will be easier to purge Trump from the GOP. You have a lot of Republicans who are furious with Trump. They were furious with him before this insurrection because they largely blame Trump for costing them the U.S. Senate and the White House. Okay? But then you had this insurrection that took place. People need to read this article here from the New York Times. Okay, man, we almost out of time. I got to try to get this other call, but call back tomorrow night, okay?
All right, appreciate it.
Okay, Ken. All right, thanks for calling. All right, let's go quickly here. Let's squeeze in this other call. Who we have on line 2? Is this John?
Yeah, Hotep, this is John, man.
Hey, John, how you doing?
You're exactly right. They blasting the Republicans.
You breaking up, John? John, you're breaking up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, can you hear me now?
Okay, go ahead. Are you on a speakerphone?
No.
Okay, all right. Okay, go ahead.
How about this?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, some of them said that they were scared the Republicans now because they were scared that somebody was going to tap them and so forth. And
yeah, so a lot of Republicans who were hunkered down during that attack, a lot of them feared for their lives, and they understood that it was Trump that sent those domestic terrorist thugs there to the U.S. Capitol building. So they're like, oh no, that's the last straw right there.
Right. Yeah. And Coleman Powell said this afternoon that he was through with them. He was through with Republicans.
Yeah, he said he's leaving the Republican.
I'm throwing my.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to have you about Coleman Powell said that he was through with the Republicans.
Yeah.
He didn't want nothing else to do with them.
Right.
So people are running from them now.
Exactly. Okay, John. Okay, call back tomorrow night, okay? Thanks for calling.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for holding. Okay. Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, the Republican leader of the U.S. Senate, okay, has told associates that he believes President Trump committed impeachable offenses and that he is pleased that Democrats are moving to impeach him, believing that it will make it easier to purge Donald Trump from the Republican Party, according to people familiar with his thinking. The House of Representatives is voting on Wednesday to formally charge Donald John Trump with inciting violence against the country. At the same time, Representative Kevin McCarthy of California, the House Minority Leader and one of Donald Trump's most steadfast allies in Congress, has asked other Republicans whether he should call on Donald Trump to resign from office in the aftermath of the riot at the Capitol last week, according to 3 Republican officials briefed on the conversations. While House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy has said he is personally opposed to impeachment, he and other party leaders have decided not to formally lobby Republicans to vote no, and an aide to Kevin McCarthy said he was open to a measure censuring Donald Trump for his conduct. In private, Kevin McCarthy reached out to a leading House Democrat to see if the chamber would be willing to pursue a censure vote, though Speaker Nancy Pelosi has ruled it out. Read this article here from the New York Times, because so things are starting to add up. Secretary of Transportation Elaine Chao resigned from her post a few days ago. It was like right after that insurrection took place, January 6th. She resigned from office. Well, she's Moscow Mitch McConnell's wife. She was serving in Donald Trump's cabinet. So she resigns. Then this reporting comes out that McConnell is pleased that Democrats are going to impeach him, believing it will be easier to purge Trump from the Republican Party. All right, let's squeeze in. Do we have one more caller we can squeeze in? Do we have somebody on line 3? Is it Larry?
Yes, Michael, I'm really concerned that this has, to the level that this has escalated itself up to the chain of command. And I'm just wondering now, how far up the chain of command did this insurrection go? Now, we just talked about...
You said how far up the chain of command does this insurrection go?
Yes, sir.
It goes all the way up to Donald Trump.
I'm also concerned about... Well, I'm also concerned about, if it went up, as far as it went up, this drowning of America that you gentlemen mentioned early on in the conversation. I'm wondering if that has anything to do with this.
Yes, it does.
If that's the case, then if that's the case, then I think we as Black people, there are things that we need to do to try to prepare ourselves. Because if we are the target, for this insurrection, and we're the reason why it's happening, and we're talking about now 50 states to be on guard. Within 50 states, 4 of those states that were involved, that they feel that this whole thing came about, that we gave the White House to Joe Biden and Kevin Harris. If that is the case, then we as Black people need to be prepared, because we need to understand that we are the target. We are the reasons why.
Well, just very quickly here. Those 50 states, those were 50 state capitals. They're targeted just like when the insurrection took place January 6th. There were demonstrations at like 12 state capitals, something like that. Trump supporters at 12 state capitals. So the FBI is when we look at the reporting from NBC News from January 11th, FBI memo warns law enforcement across U.S. of possible armed protests at 50 state capitals. Okay, but yeah, we need to be prepared. We need to be on guard. We need to defend ourselves. And this is a part of this is a fear the browning of America. Part of this is you have some Trump supporters, not all Trump supporters, but you have some of them who are upset that Trump lost the White House. African Americans and also Hispanics came out, Latinos came out and voted for Trump, came out and voted for Democrats as well, and took control of the House of Representatives, took control of the Senate and the White House from Republicans as well. So all of this is coming together. Yeah, go ahead quickly because we only got a minute left.
Michael, here's the last part of that. Is that are the Democrats also complicit in that? We're looking at the Republicans within what they're doing as far as this insurrection. But we have left out that this is about the browning of America. Aren't the Democrats also complicit in this whole thing about overthrowing this government and installing new ones?
Overthrowing the government? How? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? All right, looks like we lost Larry. I don't know what he's talking about. So we're out of time here on 910 AM, the Superstation WFDF. Those watching on Facebook and YouTube, on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep. Keep watching. We're going to keep going for a few minutes longer. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. All right, stand by. Okay, let me disconnect that call. How's everybody doing? We'll be here for a few more minutes. Let's see here. Okay, so I want to try to hit some of these stories we didn't have a chance to get to, and we'll talk about Governor Rick Snyder. All right, everybody, share this broadcast on social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in as well. If you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $ TheAHNShow through Cash App, $ TheAHNShow through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/TheAHNShow, paypal.me/TheAHNShow, and at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All of our DVD lectures are there and digital downloads at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right. Okay, so some more of these updates we'll get to tomorrow on Wednesday's show. We'll talk about the impeachment of Trump. Visit 4glossygirls.com. That's the number 4glossygirls.com, and follow them on Instagram at 4glossygirls.
Are you getting ready for fall or winter? We have the solution for all seasonal clothing needs. Comedicwear.com is the go-to online source for Comedic African fashion and lifestyle products with a contemporary twist. We're committed to offering unique styles reflecting our African heritage. Comedicwear.com is inspired by ComedicScribes.com to influence our people in learning and showing pride. Please visit our website at comedicwear.com.
Black Bees products are a collection of natural, organic, personal care products with an appreciation of nature and bees. Our philosophy is without bees, we have nothing. We are honoring our Nile Valley ancestors who understood the importance of bees. Black Bees created a high-quality, natural, organic personal care line that would be affordable to everyone. We hope you try and enjoy our Black Bees products line and come back and visit us at blackbeesproducts.com.
With blackbusinesstea.com, the messages are clear and meaningful. Keep your business in the black and out of the red. Mind your black business, know your numbers, and plan strategically. Black Business Boss, lead your industry. Support black business, encourage, patronize, and uplift one another. BlackBusinessTea.com currently has products sold in Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, and Los Angeles, with proceeds returned to the black community. They have a wide selection of hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, hats, sweatshirts that support black-owned businesses. Visit the website blackbusinesstee.com. That's blackbusinesstee.com.
Do you have an idea or business that requires app development or thinking of moving your IT resources to the cloud? We have post-paid and profit-sharing plans for unique ideas or profitable businesses. Who can take advantage of this unique program? Entrepreneurs with unique ideas, startups, small to medium businesses. Contact us, 267-209-0352.
Visit nomadicsystems.net, nomadicsystems.net today. Check out the updates from the Washington Post and NBC News. And let me see, there was a couple of things I wanted to hit on in the remaining time we have left. Okay, so we talked about that one, the FBI report. There's an extensive article from the Washington Post. 6 hours of paralysis inside Trump's failure to act after a mob stormed the Capitol. 6 hours of paralysis inside Trump's failure to act after a mob stormed the Capitol. This is from January 12th, 2021. But as senators and House members trapped inside the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday begged for immediate help during the siege, they struggled to get through to Donald Trump, who safely ensconced in the West Wing of the White House, was too busy watching fiery TV images of the crisis unfolding around them to act or even bother to hear their pleas. So this coincides with what we talked about, I think, on our Sunday night show. And Republican Senator Ben Sasse, who said that Donald Trump was happy with the insurrection he was seeing playing out on TV, and he couldn't understand why people in the White House, his aides and things like this, why they weren't pleased also. There was an article from Box.com that we talked about on our Sunday night show. Republican Senator, White House aides say Trump was delighted as Capitol was stormed. White House aides say Trump was delighted as Capitol was stormed. This shows how sick. This shows how sick and mentally deranged Trump is. Okay, I'm going to turn on the screen share. Now, if you've been watching my show, because I've been doing radio 10 years, and I've been on 910 AM, the superstation WFDF for 11 years. For 5 years, It'll be 5 years. Well, actually, January is 5 years because I started out on the morning show, Wake Up with Steve Hood, and then I got my own show in April of 2016. So back in 2016, I warned our people about Trump even before the election, months before the election. And I talked about how he was mentally unstable. He did not have the right temperament to be president. He could not handle that massive amount of power. He was vindictive. I talked about how he was a traitor, his Russian connections, all those things. All that stuff I talked about months before the election. Republican Senator, White House aides say Trump was delighted as Capitol was stormed. So this is Senator Ben Sasse, Republican of Nebraska. How did President Donald Trump react to the chaotic scene in which his supporters stormed the Capitol as Congress was preparing to formally approve President-elect Joe Biden's win, a scene that eventually left 5 people dead? One Republican senator who says he's been in touch with senior White House aides about the matter claims the president was, quote unquote, delighted. Senator Ben Sasse, Republican of Nebraska, was interviewed by right-wing conservative Hugh Hewitt on Hugh Hewitt's radio show. Ben Sasse said, quote, "I don't have any idea what was in his heart about what he wanted to happen once they were in the Capitol, but he wanted there to be chaos. He wanted there to be chaos." Quote, "And I'm sure you've also had conversations with other senior White House officials, as I have," Ben Sasse continued. Quote, he said, quote, "As this was unfolding on television, Donald Trump was walking around the White House confused about why other people on his team weren't as excited as he was, as you had rioters pushing against Capitol Police trying to get into the building." Okay. Ben Sasse, quote unquote, he was delighted. He was delighted. This account generally coincides with other reporting sourced to anonymous White House aides about how Donald Trump responded to his supporters' actions and why he took so long to tell them to go home. Okay. All right. So, so in parentheses, it says, though an advisor who spoke to New York Magazine's Olivia Nuzzi, N-U-Z-Z-I, said that Trump disliked the optics of the mob, viewing them as quote unquote low class. Now, in a separate interview on CBS, on CBS network, CBS Broadcasting Network, Friday, Senator Ben Sasse became the first Republican senator to say that he would, quote unquote, consider voting to remove Donald Trump from office if House Democrats impeached him, though he did not fully commit to do so. Maybe he'll commit now. Because so what's happened is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, more information has come out about how devastating the attack was. More images, more video has come out about how devastating the attack was. So hopefully Ben Sasse will vote to remove Trump from office as well. Okay, but if we go back and look at the other article here from Washington Post, 6 hours of paralysis inside Trump's failure to act after a mob stormed the Capitol. This was a huge article from the Washington Post, and we're going to pick it up. I'm going to pull it up here and put this on screen share so you can see this. I want everybody should read this article. How y'all doing today? We'll be here for a few more minutes. It's been a long day. I got to bed like really late. I was up editing video of last night's show. Got to bed really late. Let's see here. Okay. 6 hours of paralysis inside Trump's failure to act after a mob stormed the Capitol. It's from the Washington Post from January 11th. January 2021, not the 12th, January 11th, 2021. Okay, so Kellyanne Conway called Donald Trump. So hiding from the rioters in a secret location away from the Capitol, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, Republican from California, appealed to Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor, Donald Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor, Jared Kushner. Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, called Ivanka Trump Donald Trump's daughter. While all this chaos is going on, the Congress people and senators are hunkered down. They're trapped in the U.S. Capitol building. Okay, they're calling the White House. They're calling Trump. They're calling Jared Kushner. They're calling Ivanka Trump to get help and to get Donald Trump to put out a statement to tell his insurrectionists to go home. And Kellyanne Conway, a longtime Trump confidant and former White House senior advisor, called an aide who she knew was standing at the president's side. But as senators and House members trapped inside the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday begged for immediate help during the siege, they struggled to get through to Donald Trump, who safely ensconced in the West Wing of the White House was too busy watching the fiery images of the crisis unfolding around them to act or even bother to hear their pleas. He's too busy watching this chaos, this insurrection play out on television to do anything about it. Quote, he was hard to reach. And you know why? Because it was live TV, said one close Trump advisor. Quote, if it's TiVo, he just hits pause and takes the calls. If it's live TV, he watches it, and he was just watching it all unfold, end quote. Does he know that with Xfinity, with the DVR, you can pause live TV? I mean, with Xfinity, you can pause live TV, and you come back and help America, and then come back and press play. Quote, it took him a while to appreciate the gravity of the situation, Senator Lindsey Graham said in the interview. Quote, the president saw these people as allies in his journey and sympathetic to the idea that the election was stolen. It wasn't stolen. You lost. The election wasn't stolen. You lost. The Republicans who are helping you, coming to your aid, defending you, they won re-election in the same election. Their names were on the same ballots. You don't say their elections were stolen. You have Republicans who won in House of Representative races defeating Democrats. You don't say those elections were stolen from Republicans. They were on. You don't say those elections were stolen from Democrats who lost. They're on the same ballot as you. You just can't handle the fact that you lost. And you lost by almost, 7 million votes? Trump ultimately and begrudgingly urged his supporters to, quote, go home in peace, end quote. But the 6 hours between when the Capitol was breached shortly before 2 p.m. Wednesday afternoon and when it was finally declared secure around 8 p.m. that evening revealed a president paralyzed, more passive viewer than resolute leader. He was more of a passive viewer watching the destruction that he instigated, and he riled them up and sent them to try to overthrow the government, to interrupt a constitutionally mandated process and stop the transference of power to Joe Biden so he can stay in office. This is what dictators do. But the signs were there in 2016 before the election. Some people didn't want to see it. They thought, this it's not going to be that bad. It's just one person. I heard people say dumbass things like, we survived slavery, we survived slavery and Reconstruction, all this. First of all, let me explain something to you. When somebody says something like that about African Americans, we survived slavery, things like this, it's not a Negro alive today that was alive during slavery. Chattel slavery ended in 1865. Chattel slavery ended in 1865. That was 156 years ago. So to say something like that shows how stupid people are and how they don't understand history and don't understand how to protect ourselves from threats that are coming. Nobody alive today lived through Reconstruction. Reconstruction ended in 1877. That doesn't make sense. And even if there were people alive today that lived through slavery, they would probably ask the question, why would you allow something like that to happen again? Why would you allow an oncoming threat like that to happen, saying, we survived that? But at what cost? Yeah, we survived, didn't survive Reconstruction, but why would you allow somebody like this that has these tendencies to appeal to white supremacists and neo-Nazis and things like this, and the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys? Why would you allow somebody like that to become president? That's not logical. We have to understand self-preservation. People understand self-preservation, realize that you can't allow something like that to happen. You have to be able to protect yourself from that. So we go back to this article quickly here from the Washington Post. Trump ultimately and begrudgingly urged his supporters to, quote, go home in peace, end quote. But the 6 hours between when the Capitol was breached shortly before 2 p.m. Wednesday afternoon and when it was finally declared secure around 8 p.m. that evening revealed a president paralyzed, more passive viewer than resolute leader, repeatedly failing to perform even the basic duties of his job. If you didn't want to do the job of president, why the hell did you apply for the job of president? But see, here's the thing. When you go study this, Donald Trump never thought he would actually win. Donald Trump never thought he would actually win. He ran in 2016 because he wanted to launch Trump TV, and he thought running for president would be a great media campaign to help him launch Trump TV. He never thought he would actually win. When you go research this, the night of the election, he didn't have a acceptance speech prepared, only a conciliatory speech prepared. Okay, because he didn't think he was actually going to win. I've said before, the worst thing Donald Trump ever did was run for president, because this is going to be his downfall. So the man who vowed to be a president of law and order failed to enforce the law or restore order. This is why I said Donald Trump is the president of lawlessness and disorder. How can you love the police but send your thugs there to beat up the police? And one police officer was killed. Brian Sicknick, U.S. Capitol police officer, died from his injuries. He was bludgeoned in the head with a fire extinguisher. So where the Blue Lives Matter people? I still haven't heard from them. How could you say you love the police but send these domestic terrorist thugs there to attack the police? The man who has always seen himself as the protector of uniformed police sat idly by as Capitol police officers were outnumbered, outmaneuvered, trampled on, and in one case killed. And the man who had long craved the power of the presidency abdicated many of the responsibilities of the commander-in-chief. The episode in which Trump supporters rose up against their own government, leaving 5 people dead, will be central to any impeachment proceedings, critical to federal prosecutors considering incitement charges, incitement of insurrection, incitement charges against him or his family, and a dark cornerstone in his presidential legacy. This portrait of the president as the Capitol was under attack on January 6th is the result of the interviews with 15 Trump advisors, members of Congress, GOP officials, and other Trump confidants, many of whom spoke on the condition of anonymity to share candid details. So read the rest of this article. This is an extensive article here from the Washington Post, from Ashley Parker, John Dawsey, and Philip Rucker, January 11th, 2021. 6 hours of paralysis inside Trump's failure to act after a mob stormed the Capitol. All right, so check that out from the Washington Post. Okay, lastly, I want to talk about Flint, Michigan. So, Associated Press reported today in WXYZ Channel 7 News in Detroit that former Governor Snyder, former governor of Michigan, and some of his aides will face criminal charges in connection to the Flint Water Crisis. WXYZ Channel 7 reported former Governor Rick Snyder and several other state officials will be facing criminal charges in connection with the Flint Water Crisis. This is a major development and a first for the former governor who was in charge during the crisis. The charges are coming from Attorney General Dana Nessel, but sources tell Channel 7 Action News these are indictments handed down by a grand jury. The charges include involuntary manslaughter, as several people died of Legionnaire's disease during the water crisis. I hope his ass goes to prison. He belongs in prison for what happened. Channel 7 Action News has heard for months that these charges could be coming. We asked former Governor Snyder about this back in September 2020 on our 7 Upfront segment. Former Governor Snyder took full responsibility for the water crisis. He and his team ordered Flint to switch off Detroit water to the Flint River to save money. Flint was under a state takeover, and emergency managers were running the city. The Flint River was more corrosive. It was actually 19 times more corrosive than the Detroit River, than the Detroit water source they were using. The Flint River water was more corrosive and caused lead poisoning and later an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease that was deadly for several people. According to sources, these are the people who are being charged this week. Rick Snyder, we are told by sources, will be charged with a major crime, involuntary manslaughter. The theory is that his actions led to death, and that's punishable by 15 years in prison. The others are close aides to him. They include Rich Bayard, B-A-I-R-D, Gerard Agen, A-G-E-N, who was former Governor Rick Snyder's chief of staff, then left to become Vice President Mike Pence's communications director. Nick Lyon, former state health director, who was charged with involuntary manslaughter and bound over for trial. Eden Wales, the chief staff medical doctor, was previously charged. Lastly, 2 Flint emergency managers, Darnell Early and Gerald Ambrose, who were also previously charged. Former Governor Rick Snyder was on Upfront on Channel 7 News September 15th, and Channel 7 asked him about possible charges and if he was concerned. Several people have since released statements regarding the litigation. Brian Lennon, attorney for former Governor Rick Snyder, said, quote, "We have been told by several reporters that the Michigan Attorney General's Office of Special Counsel plans to charge former Governor Rick Snyder with crimes related to the Flint water investigation. That office has refused to share information about these charges with us, which is an indication that a public relations smear campaign is a higher priority than any official legal action. This is what they're saying. Blah, blah, whatever. Okay, so let me see if we can get this clip going. Check out this article here from WXYZ Channel 7 in Detroit, WXYZ.com. Former Governor Snyder to face criminal charges in connection to Flint Water Crisis. We're going to post this link here. I want to try to get this clip. I think there's a video clip here. I want to try to play it. Okay, here we go. Okay, we'll get that queued up. I had to refresh the screen. We'll get that queued up. Then the Associated Press has an article also that we posted. Michigan plans to charge ex-Governor Snyder and Flint water probe. Former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder, his health director, and other ex-officials have been told they're being charged after, let's see here. Let's go.
Thank you so much for joining us for Action News at 6. But first, the bombshell breaking news in the Flint Water Crisis. Thank you so much for joining us for Action News at 6. I'm Carolyn Clifford.
And I'm Dave Llewellyn. New charges are going to the top. Former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder and several other officials will have to answer for the scandal in court. It began to unfold almost 7 years ago when a change in Flint's water supply poisoned the system with lead.
7 investigator Ross Jones is live tonight with the very latest on what we have learned so far. Ross?
Carolyn, Dave, victims have been waiting more than 5 years to hear this. There will be charges in the Flint water crisis, and according to sources, these are the people that will be charged. Former Governor Rick Snyder, we are told, will be charged with a major crime, involuntary manslaughter. The theory is that his actions led to death as a 15-year felony. The others are aides close to him, Rich Baird, Jared Agan, who was Snyder's chief of staff, who then left to become Vice President Mike Pence's communications director. Also, Nick Lyon, former state health director, who was charged with involuntary manslaughter and bound over for trial. Eden Wells, the chief state medical doctor, previously charged, and 2 Flint emergency managers, Darnell Early and Gerald Ambrose, who are also previously charged. This news has been a long time coming for so many Flint residents, including 2 lawmakers, one in the Michigan Senate and one in the U.S. House.
People in Flint that were wronged, that were said, that were lied to, that were said that they were crazy, that this is just another confirmation that all those things were not true, that we were right.
Justice for the people of Flint comes in lots of different forms. Making things right for the people of Flint is an important part of that, but a very important part is holding the people who did this to Flint responsible. Mm-hmm. This is another step in the march toward justice for the people I represent.
And we are trying to get in contact with each of the individuals expected to be charged, including Governor Snyder. When we do, we will bring that to you in later editions of 7 Action News. But we do expect this week those charges will be formally announced. We're live tonight. I'm Ross Jones. 7 Action News.
Certainly a big story, Ross. A lot of people watching.
All right. And I hope former Governor Rick Snyder, he belongs in prison. The other ones who are guilty, they belong in prison also. Flint still has not recovered from what happened. If Flint was a predominantly white community, not wealthy white community, just predominantly white community, that would not have happened. They're poor, they're lower class, poor white people who live in Flint, Michigan also. Last time I checked, I think at the time that the lead water poisoning took place, Flint was, I think, 55% African American. But if there had been a majority white community, that would not have happened, especially if it was a majority affluent white community, that would not have happened. So to make a long story short, what happened was Flint, Michigan was getting their water from the Detroit water source, the Detroit River water source. They were doing this for years. They wanted to have their own water system. In the meantime of building their own water system, they switched and were getting water from the Flint River. Okay. Now, people in Flint, Michigan know that water in the Flint River is highly polluted. So the water from the Flint River was 19 times more corrosive than the water from the Detroit water source. If they had, CNN.com had a really, really good article on this back at that time. If they used an anti-corrosive agent to treat the water daily, it would have cost somewhere between $150 to $200 a day to properly treat the water in the Flint River so that it would not be so corrosive. $150 to $200 a day. They decided, though, because Flint, Michigan was under emergency manager control, which means which meant the state of Michigan took over Flint, Michigan. They did have a city council, but city council didn't have any power. An emergency manager was put in charge of Flint, Michigan. So any decisions that city council made, it was just performative. It was just for ceremony. They didn't have any power. Okay. The mayor didn't have any power in Flint, Michigan. And there were a number of predominantly African-American cities in Michigan that were taken over by emergency managers imposed by the governor. It was state controlled. Detroit, Benton Harbor, Flint, Michigan, and there were some others. So what happened was, when this water that was 19 times more corrosive than the Detroit water source they had been using, when this went through the lead pipes, okay, and now all the pipes in Flint, Michigan were not lead, but it's about 50% of the pipes were made of lead. There was a protective coating inside the pipes that kept the lead from the pipes from leaching into the water. There was a protective coating inside the lead pipes that kept the lead from the pipes from leaching into the water flowing through the pipes. When this water from the Flint River source that was 19 times more corrosive went through the lead pipes, it stripped away the protective coating inside the lead pipes and allowed the lead to leach into the water. And you had all these people poisoned. You had children poisoned. These children are going to have long-term cognitive effects. You had some people who caught Legionnaire's disease, and it's believed that was associated with the water, because then now you got this contaminated water. People can't bathe. People can't do regular hygiene. They have to go get bottled water in gallons, water in jugs, all different nonsense, just crazy. So everybody guilty belongs in prison. All these people who are guilty belong in prison, whether they're African American or white. Because Darnell Early, or Daryl Early, was his name, Daryl Early, who was one of the emergency managers imposed, he's African American. Everybody guilty, regardless of race, their asses belong in prison. Let me see, what was that? Yeah, so we'll hear more about this. And this was an international story. I remember at the peak of the Flint Water Crisis, there were news media. Darnell Early. I remember at the peak of the Flint Water Crisis, there was news media from around the world in Flint, Michigan, covering what was taking place. There were representatives of news media outlets from around the world in Flint, Michigan. Okay, let's see here. All right. So the rest of the stuff we'll get to tomorrow night, on tomorrow's show. All right. Hey, if you like this type of information, also you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, or through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Also, you can advertise with the African History Network. Email us at customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So African American business owners, email us at customerservice@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. All right, look, we have to get out of here. Hey, remember the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace.
For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid El Hakim is the founder of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, and he is a highly sought-after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, hip-hop, and race relations. Dr. Khalid was named among the change makers for NBC Universal's Erase the Hate campaign and listed as one of the 100 men of distinction for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Hip Hop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. For more information, please contact Dr. Khalid Al Hakim directly at 313-645-4197, 313-645-4197, or visit their website at blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. That's blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. You can also email him at bhistory101@yahoo.com, bhistory101@yahoo.com. Soul Natural Beauty Products offers organic, plant-based skin and hair care products that will rejuvenate skin and naturally grow and thicken hair. Their whipped shea butter can heal or restore damaged skin cells to prevent hyperpigmentation and skin breakouts. All products are made with organic plant-based ingredients. Their maximum hair growth oil is fortified with organic herbal extracts and undeniably proves that Mother Nature knows best. It thickens, lengthens, softens, and conditions all types of hair. They even guarantee hair improvement within 90 days or a full refund. Their all-natural 24-hour deodorant leaves the body smelling fresh without sweating for up to 24 hours. It does not stain fabric, goes on smoothly, and has a refreshing lavender and frankincense aroma. It can be used by men, women, and even children. Place your order today at soulnaturalbeautyproducts.com. That's soulnaturalbeautyproducts.com, and follow them on Facebook at Soul Natural Beauty Products. Intuitive Design Clothing is an online accessory store that sells one-of-a-kind signature statement pieces for men and women. They also specialize in fashion consultations, closet organization, and decorating small spaces. Are you looking for a statement piece for a special affair, or would you like to add some select pieces to your ensemble of accessories? If you're looking for something different, definitely contact Kathy Norman, owner and CEO of Intuitive Design Clothing. Visit their website, intuitivedesignClothing.com. That's intuitivedesignClothing.com, and you can email her at info@intuitivedesignClothing.com. Intuitive Design Clothing is where every entrance is a grand entrance. With blackbusinesstee.com, the messages are clear and meaningful. Keep your business in the black and out of the red. Mind your black business, know your numbers, and plan strategically. Black Business Boss, lead your industry. Support black business, encourage, patronize, and uplift one another. blackbusinesstee.com currently has products sold in Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, and Los Angeles, with proceeds returned to the black community. They have a wide selection of hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, hats, sweatshirts that support black-owned businesses. Visit the website blackbusinesstee.com. That's blackbusiness